So you may have seen my shorts on the channel showing the beginning and the end of the game and might be wondering, so did you get any cool clips from the game? No, I am not good about recording during the game because I prefer to just watch it. I don't know if that makes me a bad YouTuber, but if it does, oh well. Well, what's up guys and welcome to the Blues and Stripes. We get a win in Atlanta. I got to see it live. Pretty close up on the action on our side of the stand, so where we were defending in the first half. It always is interesting to see it live because it does give you a different view of the game, especially where I tend to sit whenever I watch most games live, which is on one end behind the goal. So you're not really getting to see the whole pitch stretched out. You're just getting to see the whole pitch at a weird angle, and the depth perception can sometimes be off. Sometimes it looks like something's about to go in, and then it goes well wide. Always a fun experience, though, just to get to see the Blues live whenever they come to America. As far as this match is concerned, obviously not the most exciting match, but I do feel like it was comfortable. I did say in my preview that I felt like the MLS teams were going to get exposed a little bit. However, it does feel like we kind of approached this match similar to a preseason match, not in the sense of who we were playing, because most of the time, a lot of these guys would not be playing the whole match. They would probably be starting and maybe get subbed off at halftime. We'd probably see a lot more youth in there as well. But the way we played felt very much like a preseason match. It felt very comfortable. It felt first gear almost. There were a couple times whenever you could tell we started to pick up the pace a little bit, and I felt like those were our best moments in the game, but those mostly came in the second half, which thankfully was when we were attacking the end that I was on. So I did get to see, I think, some of our best chances in the game right in front of me, which was nice. But first of all, let's look at the overall game. First half was very controlled, and I think a lot of that was down to having Caicedo and Lavia in the midfield. They kept a lot of the game in front of them. It felt like they were reading the play really well, a lot of energy in there, so anytime LA was breaking down the pitch, never really felt like it turned into anything because we were nice and compact in the back, but then on the ball, we didn't have a whole lot of creativity going forward. We had a couple of moments where things kind of clicked together a little bit, but for the most part, it was slow. It was the same old Maresca dull build-up play that we've seen before. While most of the time I get very frustrated by that, I can kind of understand it here because this is the first game of this tournament. This is a tournament where they've already talked about how some of the players are tired. I do feel like it's kind of an excuse, but I do understand trying to not push yourself too hard, especially in these group games whenever you're playing teams that are not on the same level as what we're used to playing in the Premier League. I can understand not going all out 100% because you don't want to put yourself in a bad position whenever we do face some of the better teams in like the knockout stages. So I wasn't as upset about it in this first half. Second half, felt like we did start to see the game open up a little bit more. We saw some chances for them because we were a little bit looser in the back because James had come off and Gusto came on. In the midfield as well, it felt like it was a little bit more open because Fernandez isn't the same type of midfielder that Lavia is, so it was a little bit more open in there. So we did see the game open up a bit. We saw LA get some chances. We started to get some better chances as well. It still wasn't a great half, but I think it was a lot more entertaining than what we saw in the first half. But first of all, looking at Maresca, the lineup I think is pretty standard. In fact, I almost predicted it outside of Lavia on for Fernandez, which I didn't mind that switch. You know, I did say the South Americans that were coming in from their international duty, I wasn't sure if they were going to be ready to start. So the fact that Caicedo did, I was actually impressed. And he played most of the match too. So it's good to see him getting some good minutes in, and outside of one scare where I think he might have rolled his ankle, I think he looked fine, at least physically. Yeah, starting with Lavia, bringing Fernandez on at halftime, I think that's fine. Gusto on for James. Again, I think James is having his minutes managed, so no surprises there, even if I don't think Gusto is really doing enough right now to justify the minutes. I would really like to see Achimpong get a chance. I don't know why Maresca's not giving him a go back there, because I think he could do that role pretty well. What we saw James doing in the first half, playing that sort of third center back whenever Cucurella stepped up, I think Achimpong could do that. But for some reason, he continues to go to Gusto, who's just not playing well right now. So I thought that was a little frustrating, but I understand from a sense of Achimpong is still young. He's still growing. Maybe he's just trying to manage him and not throw him into the deep end too soon. The next subs, George on for Madueke, I think is good because Madueke was not playing well. Delap comes on for Jackson, so get him a good chunk of that second half to see what he could do. So I think it was a good decision when he brought him on. And then the final two felt like just resting Caicedo and Palmer, so you bring on Essugo and Nkuku. I still do have issues with the fact that Nkuku is our backup number 10 when we have Paez, we have Felix. Like, we've got players that could have stepped in there, and yet we're bringing in the guy who doesn't look like he wants to be at the club anymore. I don't understand it, but I understand those subs. I think they are decent subs to make. At the time that he made them, It rested two of our most influential players. I think the only concern that I have is that we don't have a backup for Cucurella, and there was a point when he was hobbling a little bit around the time that Caicedo also pulled up. So I am concerned in that sense, because we should have brought Vega back from his loan if we're trying to look to fill out some positions on the pitch. But as far as the tactics from Maresca today, I mean, it's very much similar to what we saw for most of the second half of the season, where it's very negative. We're looking to build out from the back, but we're not looking to take chances with it. And it's fine in a match like this, like I said, but I am also concerned that it doesn't feel like he learned any of his lessons from this second half of the season. In those moments in the final matches, whenever Palmer would turn it on or Neto would turn it on out of nowhere and they would look to be more aggressive, more progressive with their passes instead of so negative and just looking to keep possession, those were the moments when games turned for us near the end of the season. And it feels like Maresca still doesn't really get that. And so he still wants to play the way he wants to play. And where both of our goals come in are from players deciding, I'm not going to go back. Jackson deciding, I am going to take this player on and I'm going to look to get the ball in behind to Neto. Same for Palmer to Delap. I'm going to look to get him in behind, get him into that space, and then he cuts it back across to Fernandez. Those are those moments that we don't see enough in Maresca ball. We don't see it enough from the way he wants to play because it turns into, I don't want to take that chance. I don't want to give up possession. So I'm just going to go backwards to a defense and to a keeper that are not great on the ball. So we'll see if that changes as the tournament goes on. But talking about individuals, Sanchez, not much to talk about from him today. There was a moment in the first half whenever he's going out wide out of the box to go get the ball and he kicks it into the guy and it goes back toward the goal. That was a little concerning and it was right in front of me too. So my heart was in my throat when I saw that ball careen off of him back toward the goal. Just get it out of bounds, or just let Cucurella deal with it. Why did you have to go running out of the box? I don't know. Sanchez, I mean, he did fine keeper-wise. He's still a good shot stopper, but he does make some decisions sometimes that makes me very concerned. Reece James, I thought, looked very comfortable. It was very telling in the second half whenever he came off that we looked much less comfortable defensively. LA actually started to create some good chances in the second half because James was not back there and Gusto was. I think now we're seeing that quickness in his game a little bit more. He's quicker to release. He's quicker to move the ball on and get rid of it and defensively step in instead of waiting for things to happen. Tosin and Colwill both played the whole match. Thought they looked fine. Nothing really to report there. They both defensively did their jobs and can't ask much more from them. I did think Colwill on the ball today could have been a little bit better, but that was about the only critique I had. Cucurella on the left side looks comfortable. Got up in the attack again like we've seen him do before. Defensively, he works very hard, gets back, makes good challenges. He did his job comfortably enough. Caicedo, for the most part, looked good. There were a couple times when I thought he got turned a little too easily for how good he is, but overall his game was still really solid. Held down the midfield for the most part, made a lot of good challenges, kept LA from really getting at our back line. Lavia, I think, looked good in the first half. On the ball, he looks mostly comfortable. There were a couple of moments when it was a little scary because he tried to turn and ball kind of squirted up under his foot. But I think overall his performance was good. He held down the midfield very well. But I think the main thing for him is he just needs to get more minutes because his injuries have really hampered his development. And I think very similar to James, if it continues to be an issue, I don't know if we can rely on him in there because you just can't expect a player that's going to be out for 15 games out of the season to be one of your top players. It's just not sensible. As far as the wings, Neto obviously got himself the goal. Overall, his performance attacking-wise was okay. He did create some good chances. Crosses could be a little bit better. I think my biggest thing for Neto is, once again, his work rate is phenomenal. Like, there's a point, I think it was like the 81st minute, where Essugo had come up and tried to get on the ball because it was loose in the box. And he steps in, puts it right in Lloris's hand, and Lloris finds a guy that is now running at Gusto, who is marking another guy. I just see Neto booking it all the way back, and he follows the guy on the ball all the way across the field. And this is the 80-something minute. He started the game, and he's still just running as hard as he can to get back behind the ball and put pressure on, and it keeps them from having the space to create whatever they want to. Like, they now have to play rushed, and it ends up forcing them into a mistake shortly after because Neto makes that run. He does not stop running throughout the entire match, and it's great to have a player like that. Madueke on the left side, not a great performance from him. I know he's not supposed to be on the left side. That's not his comfortable position, but I wouldn't even say it's the positioning that I have the issue with. On the ball, he's just not doing anything with it. He's trying to take on players and he's unsuccessful, cutting inside, and there's just no idea of what to do with it once he gets there. I'm not saying he would do the same thing on the right side. I'm sure once he cuts in on his left foot, he's probably going to have a shot, but I don't even think that's going to come off because he is completely unaware of what's ahead of him. So I think he just cuts in on his left. He's probably just going to have a shot, and it's probably going to hit the defender that's right in front of him because he's not picked his head up to see what's there. So while I know that the left side is not his position, it's not where he wants to be, I have more of an issue with the quality that I'm seeing from him. I'm not seeing any sense of awareness of what he's doing. And I think that's really what's hurting us, is having a player that he's open quite a bit. He gets on the ball quite a bit, but we don't see anything come from it. So it feels like anytime the ball goes out there, the best I can hope for is, can he get a corner out of it? Palmer in the middle, first half was not really much from him. Got on the ball a couple times, but really didn't see the quality that we're used to seeing. But second half felt like he started to grow into the game a bit more. He and Neto started to form a good partnership on that right side. They were kind of interchanging a bit. Sometimes Palmer would make an overlapping run. Sometimes Neto would just cut inside and Palmer would just sort of step out there just to be an option. So they really started to work together really well over there. And I think that's why we started to see more of Palmer in the second half, and we started to see a bit more of that quality that he can bring. Jackson, I thought, played well. Got on the ball quite a bit, made some good stuff happen in the first half. Second half, dropped off a little bit right before he came off, but I just felt like his legs started to look like they were moving a little bit slower. He did get on the end of a cross and had a decent header that was blocked by the defender, so good for that, because that's something he definitely needs to work on. But his first half performance is really where I was impressed. And I was only sad that it was on the other side of the field for me, so I couldn't see it that well. But a lot of his touches looked very comfortable. There was one that he set up, I think it was Neto, where ball comes into him and he flicks it around the defender, and it's just a nice little chop around the defender, and he's in. And then he slides in, I think it was Neto. Might have been Madueke. No, it was Madueke, because Madueke puts it basically right at Lloris, who comfortably gets it out of there. But it was such a nice little poke around the defender, chop it around the defender, and then nice little slide into Madueke. And the pass into Neto was kind of similar. Very nicely weighted pass that's perfect for the person running into it. And that's a lot of the stuff that he does that I don't feel like people really appreciate, because so many people think striker goal. Striker has to score. Striker must do one thing. And I disagree with that. Like, I know we don't score enough goals, and I do know that typically you expect a lot of goals from your striker, but I think if we're sharing goals around the pitch, I don't think you need your striker to be a 20-goal-a-season striker. If you've got a striker, an attacking mid, and two wings that are at least in the double digits, I think you're doing pretty well. But the problem is that Jackson barely hits double digits. Palmer last season barely. Actually, I think he was pretty comfortable double digits. I think he was like at 15. But Neto and Madueke and Sancho, none of them, I don't think, hit double digits in the Premier League. That's where we're having a lot of our issue, is that we have two players in the middle that are very good link-up play. They're very good about setting up chances, but the finishing overall. Yes, Jackson's finishing could be better, but I think the finishing overall could improve. But I do think there's a lot of people that I don't want to say respect, but don't really appreciate, I think, what Jackson brings, because their mindset is so focused on striker must score. And that's all they really want out of a striker, is a striker who can score, and that's it. And I just think you miss a lot whenever you're looking for just your striker to score, because a lot of Jackson's build-up play is really good. And if I'm being honest, I'll go ahead and jump into the subs as well. Delap, kind of the same thing. I was expecting Delap to be a little bit different, to kind of stay more central and be a bully in there amongst the defense, and he did get a little bit more rough than Jackson does with the defenders, shoved one of them down, which was pretty funny. But honestly, a lot of his runs were taking him wide. He's getting in there, making a run to the middle, but then he'll kind of cut it out wide a little bit, get him behind. I mean, the goal comes from him making that run out wide and then crossing it into Fernandez. So he's not really that Costa, stay in the middle of the box and just try to win the ball. Giroud is kind of the same way too. He's just in there to be a target, and you have to find him, and he's a good finisher. He's good in the air. He'll score. Delap's not that either. Like, he's looking more so to make runs and draw defenders out wide, which is good, but I do wonder, is that going to upset people if he's not staying central, if he's not finishing? Because we didn't really see much of that from him today. I know people will say, well, he only had like 30 minutes, so maybe he just needed to grow into the game more. But just from what I'm seeing from him, he looks just as creative as Jackson is. So I just don't know if he's going to come in and be a 20-goal-a-season striker either. So I think I said this in my transfer video. We need wings who are going to be much more clinical. We need those players to come in, because Palmer, he's already shown he can be clinical. He does need to improve his finishing. He does need to calm himself back down, because I still feel like that rut is still playing into his game a little bit here. There was one shot he had in the second half where he's leaning back. He's not hitting it with confidence. We need the Palmer back that is confident enough to just comfortably stroke it into the back of the net. Because we're seeing that Palmer in the build-up play, but it's that finishing touch that he's sort of lacked at the moment. It's almost like he's got the yips or something. But I think if we get calm, comfortable Palmer back next season, if we can just get some wings that can finish, and then Jackson and Delap, I think, are both going to score some goals, but maybe not prolific scorers. We have enough sharing of the goals amongst our attacking four players that I think we're going to be comfortable. I think people need to sort of realize that I don't think we're going to go get a 20-goal-a-season striker. I don't see that happening. But I do think we could go get wingers that could score 10 to 15 goals, and that's going to help us a lot more than getting just one striker that scores all the goals while the rest of the players are not really involved much. That's why I think, honestly, Holland has made City a little bit worse, because he's getting all the goals. Most of the players around him are not scoring that much. That hurts whenever he goes on a bad run of form, because now who's going to score for them? But as far as the other subs that came in, Gusto came in at halftime, didn't look good again, created one of LAFC's best chances by giving the ball away, and he's just too slow on the ball in defense whenever we're trying to pass it around back there. Whenever he's playing, we shouldn't be doing that. Defensively, he also lost track of his runners a couple of times. He's just not quite living up to the expectations I think we all had of him after that first season under Pochettino. And some of that is because of Maresca's system. I don't think he suits it. But at the same time, if he's not learning Maresca's system, then it's time to move him on. If he can't figure it out, we can get better players in that can figure it out. Or we can try Achapong and see if he can figure it out. Fernandez also coming on at halftime, and I do think our midfield got a little bit weaker because of that. He's not the most controlling midfielder on the ball. He's comfortable but not super creative. He does get the goal, and again, it's one of those runs into the box that I've talked about before that I didn't see the first season he was here last year, but now I'm starting to see it more under Maresca. But the build-up play, I feel like he's not really providing what I was hoping to see out of him. You're not even just the Cesc Fabregas distribution that I thought we were going to get, but even just in the knocking it around, trying to build out of the back, it feels like he's always looking backwards. At least it did today. Not impressed with him for the most part, but by the end of the game, especially after the goal, felt like was a little bit more happy with his performance. George also came on with Delap for Madueke. Did okay. Still young, still looked a little raw. A couple of times made some good runs. Didn't really see much product at the end of it, though. But I would like to see him get some more minutes. I was very disappointed with Maresca when he wasn't playing him in the last few matches of the season after Man U. I feel like this is a good tournament to give him some minutes, see what he's capable of, see if he can grow into that left wing position, because if so, then we only need to go get one left wing. If he's not capable of it, if he's not going to be ready, then we need two. Because right now, if he's not capable of it, we have none. And then the final two subs, Essugo comes on for a little cameo, and Nkuku's on just to give Palmer a break. Nkuku, I didn't really see much from him. He got on the ball a couple times, but I didn't really see anything to change my mind of my opinion of him, which is I don't think he needs to be here anymore. I think he needs to leave because he doesn't suit Maresca's style at all, and I just don't see him working hard enough to earn a position there. I feel like you could put Dewsbury Hall on and probably get a little bit more from him at this point. Essugo, though, was a nice little cameo from him. Looked to work hard, looked to try to win the ball back well. Like I said in my talk about the transfers, his stats show that he's very good at winning the ball back. But definitely from his performance, it seems like he's very, I don't want to say Conte-esque, because when you say that, it sounds like he's just the type of player that's everywhere and always winning the ball. But I think when I say Conte-esque, I mean just that player that is willing to run and work hard to win the ball. Like, he will not be confined to one position. He will get up to win the ball. He will put pressure on whoever is in his general area. That's just the type of player he looked like from this little cameo. So hoping to see more from him in the next couple matches, playing him in the next match, maybe starting him alongside Lavia. We also still haven't seen Santos yet, so don't really know what to expect from him. There's a lot of stuff to look forward to, I feel like, in this tournament. And this was a good start for it, in my opinion. It was not the most entertaining, but it's a win. It gets us off to a good start. We got to see a couple of the players that we just brought in. I think Delap looked pretty comfortable. Essugo, decent little cameo. And I think that's a lot of what I wanted to see from this match, outside of just excited to see it live. But those are my thoughts on the game today, so let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on the game? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Chelsea previews, reviews, and talks. And until next time, I hope you guys have a great day, and I will talk to y'all later. Peace out.